Hey everyone, this is a podcast called Glad with Dad. My name's Harrison, and my co-host is
Alan. I'm Harrison's dad.
Cool. So the theme of today's podcast is the damage self-criticism causes. We're just going to be talking about the damage it can cause, and we're also going to be talking about, near the end of the episode, a few ways you can realize if the self-criticism that you are putting on yourself is either bad or good, and we'll determine that at the end of the episode. But right now we'll just get into the first part, and hope you enjoy.
Wow, it's a long time coming. Been working on this for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to be doing this with my son Harrison. Not many dads get to do things like what we're doing.
Definitely. Definitely.
Glad to be here and glad to have you join us. I don't know, just the different things that happened through my life as a young man at school, coming from Ireland to back here to Australia.
Yeah.
There was always shit put on me, really, for being Irish, So I realised today it's just, kids have got to find somebody to pick on about something. So I don't know, it's just part of growing up, really. But it had an effect on me. It had a strong effect on me. And people start to say it often enough, you begin to wonder, not necessarily if it's true, because they used to say stupid Irish so-and-so. I didn't necessarily think that I was stupid, but I started to doubt myself on...
in other areas of your life.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
in
definitely.
Other areas, And then, it made me, and I was illiterate at the same time, So that made it, pretty hard.
It would make it hard.
I
You
was
can't do anything if you can't read or write.
Oh, it's pretty much.
Yeah.
And, how that affected me is unbelievable, really. I remember back in the days, you had to fill out a form to even go to the bank. If you wanted to deposit stuff in the bank, you had to, you had to fill out the form in words. So I was behind the eight ball. But, it's amazing. You find other ways to do it. So I got somebody to write them in my bank book, and then I can, fill them out. But it meant everything took longer, Everything was a struggle. It was embarrassing, to be doing in front of anybody. I felt inferior to really everybody.
Yeah.
It was a really hard time. And, I couldn't talk to anybody yet,
Well, you were just criticising yourself the whole time. You were just shutting yourself down. Any time you had an idea, your brain would just shut it down straight away because your confidence wasn't good enough.
Yeah. So it's amazing, how that affected me. It's like I can have a joke now with people now in the way of, if they're, hanging shit on the Irish or whatever, as long as it's, in a joking way, I can cop that, no problem, and I won't be taken on board,
Yeah, definitely.
And that's just the difference. It doesn't mean you're stuck just because you felt that way one time. It doesn't mean you stay that way. And a lot of that, I think, has got to do with not needing everybody's acceptance.
Yeah.
To the extent that I did when I was younger.
Yeah, definitely.
So I love to have a laugh and hang shit on other people, back. And it's just a bit more lighter,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
What about you?
Oh, cool. Well, with me, some things that made me very self-critical of myself was back in primary school and even in high school as well. I struggled quite a lot with schoolwork, with just getting my grades up and passing classes, and my idea of what a smart person was, someone who was intelligent, was someone who did well in school, but that's not necessarily what it means at all. That's just one form of intelligence.
Yeah, as you know it today, but it was different.
Yeah, definitely. I know that now, but I had no idea back in the day, and that really just brought my self-confidence down so much, and I was so self-critical of myself. I had a dream since I was 11, 12 years old. I wanted to be an English teacher in Japan. That really sparked my interest more than anything else, and I'd always try to learn different ways to do that, and I would fall short, and I ended up giving up on teaching because I was so self-critical of myself. I felt like I couldn't do it, so I just gave up on my dream.
As so many do.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much as a young mind.
Yeah, definitely.
So fragile.
So malleable.
It's I get to see now, as a bit older now, to see how fragile our minds really are.
Yeah.
Dependent on no wonder there's so much in mental health, really, in our societies.
Yeah, we're plagued with mental illness at the moment, worse than any other time in history.
Yeah, And one thing I have noticed the difference in different cultures. They don't necessarily, not all cultures put other people down. There is that in every culture, of course, but some do it more than others. That's what I've found, and if we can be more conscious of how that affects, well, sure, we're going to do it less.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's
definitely. Yeah, some cultures are a lot more community based, and some are a lot more individualistic.
Yeah.
Like where you feel like it's you against the rest.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the fault of our own. It's just how we've been brought up in society. But we definitely just come together, and camaraderie is what we need.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I just know. I know with the Irish culture, it's just hanging shit on everyone all the time, on each other, but it's in a joking way.
Yeah, eventually,
like I said,
it wears you down.
If you're young and dependent on your mental, your vulnerability to that criticism, whether you take it on board or not. Not everyone does, but I was just one of those people that did.
Yeah,
and that affected me greatly.
Yeah,
in every
100%.
So I don't know. And you just find, like I said, you find different ways of coping. Like I remember even just, I remember one voice was in my head constantly, and it was like, I can't, and it was a bit of a victim mentality, really.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I didn't know that, of course, at the time.
Yeah, you're not aware of that sort of stuff early on.
Who talks about that stuff anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely
it's
not.
like, wow.
Not many.
No, not at all. And one of the voices, in my head was, I used to say, I can't. And while I was saying I can't, I was really saying I won't. My mind was closed to, any other solution.
Yeah,
really.
well, when you say you can't, well, what else is there? You give up, and then there's no steps forward. That's it.
And I remember the actual change that happened for me. I was 22. I was living in Sydney at the time, and I used to say I can't read and write.
Yeah.
And while I was saying I can't, I was saying I won't even try.
Yeah.
And the minute I changed that to I have trouble reading and writing, well, then I opened the door to being helped.
Yeah.
And so I went back to night school.
Yeah. So your self-talk wasn't as self-critical. You were more understanding.
It changed.
Yeah.
There was only a slight word. That's all it took.
Yeah.
For me to be in the right place at the right time to hear that voice, really, instead of all the other voices,
100%.
Self-criticism that I'd sort of grown up with and mixed. And it's not necessarily in my family, it's in society itself and all the interactions that I had, it wasn't necessarily a healthy environment that that I hung around,
Yeah.
you know, and the people that I hung around.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, that has an effect. Well, I remember that particular time when that happened.
Mm.
And then from there, I had some good men around me that encouraged me to go back to school.
Yeah.
I went back to night school. And as an adult student, it was easier.
Yeah.
It was easier because I didn't have the pressures of growing up, really. I didn't have them pressures. I had other pressures, but I didn't have them pressures of peer pressure.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have that. So it made it easier to want to learn. And this time it was different. It was coming from me wanting to learn rather than the system wanting to teach me.
Mm.
And being rebellious, that didn't help either.
Yeah.
That made it very hard, and yet that was taken away to the extent which enabled me to go and be willing to be helped, really.
100%.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. Well, so I'll talk about another area that I was very self-critical, and then I'll say something about some different ways I tried and struggled getting out of that self-criticism. So another aspect of my life that I struggled with was in school. I was called ugly a lot. I was picked on for my looks, and that really battered me down and beat my self-confidence to the point where I didn't really have any self-worth. You know, I didn't really see myself as someone who was desirable, or as a friend, in a relationship, in any of those ways. And what ended up...
How did that come out? How did that show itself?
Well, what ended up happening was later in life, when I was old enough to start dating, what ended up happening is whenever I'd start talking to someone, it would be going great, and they would be showing interest in me, and I would make up all these problems in my mind about how I feel like they're just gonna probably leave me once someone better comes along, or that I'm not good enough and they'll get bored. So I just cut it off before it gets too serious to protect myself. Yeah, self-sabotage to protect myself. Yeah, because I didn't want to be hurt, and that was because I was so self-critical of myself.
And you were fragile.
Yeah.
More so fragile. You couldn't cope with some more.
Yeah.
More
100%.
More on top.
Definitely.
More fragile.
Definitely.
From other
I already had all the shit from people who I didn't really care about, so I couldn't handle it from someone who I'd really care about.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Would
definitely.
have robbed you heaps.
Oh, definitely did.
Yeah. And you know that's quite common.
Yeah.
You know, I hear a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, they actually what they want in a relationship, or what they're frightened of in a relationship, they actually create.
Yeah, 100%. That happens so often.
It's so sad, you know, to see. And I've experienced it in relationships myself. Not me personally, the other partner. It's really sad.
Yeah, definitely.
Sad to see, you know.
Yeah, and with whenever like I cut people off, it would make me withdraw more, and it would make it worse and worse. It was like a self-perpetuating, it's like a snowball going down a hill. It just gets bigger and bigger and worse, and something that came into my life that kind of helped me with that aspect was like when I started to post on social media and started sharing my thoughts, and people were because my thoughts weren't to do with stuff, maths, English, science, you know, the things in school. There were other things about emotions, about different aspects of our lives that we could improve. Those are things that I thought I had some insight on, and I'd share that online, and people would give me compliments. They'd tell me that I'd help them and that sort of stuff, and that brought my confidence up to the point where I didn't need, not that I didn't need, but I cared less about what other people would say.
Because you're already getting the approval.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
that instinct of being accepted was being fulfilled.
Yeah.
To a great degree.
Yeah. Eventually, it got to a point though where I didn't really need the comments from social media anymore. I got to a point where
Even though you appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate them, but they
still do.
Yeah, definitely. But I didn't need that for my own validation to make myself feel good. Like I knew I had good things to say, and I knew I'm not dumb. You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
No, I remember at one stage I had to begin to ask myself, like, you know, whose voice is this that's saying this? You know, is it mine? You know, is it my voice, or where's that voice come from? That critical voice, you know, and is it true or isn't it true?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of the time it's not true.
Yeah. 100%.
Most of the time it's not true. You know.
Yeah, most of the time.
Really,
you create your own reality in the mind, and it's not what reality truly is.
You know, and we've got these, you know, people's input into our own minds, and it's like we've never questioned them, so they're still there because we've never questioned them.
Yeah.
You know? To me, I didn't anyway. I never questioned them, so a lot of the time I just accept them because of my self-esteem being so low. It wasn't until later on that I was able to question, like, whose voice in that. And I'll give you an example, you know, and nothing really critical about my mum. It was just my mum's fear. And she said, you know, she used to talk about the dangers of riding a motorcycle, you know, and which is understandable. It is quite dangerous because you're vulnerable. You've
more
got no
dangerous
protection
in the car.
around,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it was only her concern.
Yeah.
But I took that fear on.
So
that stopped me from actually having my motorbike licence.
Yeah.
And I remember as a teenager riding with my brother, trail bike, different times, and I had a ball, loved it.
Yeah.
But because of that fear that I took on, which wasn't even mine,
it robbed you from it.
Stopped me.
Yeah.
When I realised that was the big beginning. Actually, is that statement, asking myself that question: is this fear mine or not? And I got to see that it wasn't my fear; it was my mum's.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much straight away. I went out and I got my license, and I've been riding bikes ever since.
Yeah. Just bought a Harley.
That's over 30 years now.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I just love it. I just love things, and that just goes to show you unquestioned thoughts that are unquestioned can cause harm and not even realise it. That's the sad bit, you know. You don't even realise that it's happening.
And it's so easy to trust what your parents say because they're your parents.
Course,
and
my mum didn't need me
definitely
need me any harm.
No, she just wanted to keep you safe.
Yeah, 100%. You know, as a
but she projected her fear
onto me. Yeah, and I'm sure there's many parents that project their fears onto their children.
100%.
Unconsciously. That's 100%. The thing. It's unconscious. It's not even conscious thought.
Yeah, they're not trying to rob their kids of experience.
No, not at all. You know, it's just their own fears.
Yeah.
You know? And they project them on it. You know, it's not just parents that do that. There's lots of other people. So I remember a man saying to me that he had to develop a mental toughness. You know, and that's to do with this criticism thing, where what we allow into our minds unquestioned, and that's how I developed my mental toughness.
Yeah. To
the state it is today, which is, I think, it's better than it's ever been. Put that way.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
How you cope now?
Yeah, well, one of the strategies I have is so whenever I'm self-critical of myself, I try and think about a certain situation or thought or anything. I try and grab one of my closest friends or a family member, and I try and think, what if they were in this exact same position and they were asking for me for advice, right? Would I go and say that shit to them that I'm saying to myself in my head?
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I wouldn't, because that's wrong. It's you can't progress that way. It's not It's not good. It's not good at all.
No.
Really, it's terrible. So yeah, that's one of the strategies I used. But you definitely need self-criticism still
Yeah,
in
100%.
your life to
Yeah.
encourage change. But what you have to do is you have to.
Is it more self-analysing than self-criticism?
Actually,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
it is. It is actually.
You know, the word criticism isn't necessarily
Yeah.
in itself. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
But self-analysing,
Definitely.
for
Yeah,
me,
that's a
it's
lot
become
better.
a way of life to me. I do it daily. So
Yeah.
on my thoughts and my actions. And,
Yeah.
You know, am I perfect? Not far from it. But it's helped me to grow as a person and to be the person that I am
it's
today.
needed
Which
for self-development.
I like
Yeah.
for a change, you know. From that person that couldn't stand himself to a person now that, you know, I quite like myself.
That's
I
powerful.
know that I'm a good man, you know.
Yeah,
I know
100%.
I'm a good man in so many ways. I know I'm a good father, I know I'm a good husband, I know I'm a good friend, I know I'm a good employer when I'm working for somebody. Most of the time I work for myself, but when I'm working for somebody, because of this self-analysing, I've been able to look at, you know, if I'm working for somebody, how can I make them money? Really?
Yeah.
So what happens, you know, I've never been out of work as a result of that. Really.
Yeah.
Because that's...
You're not thinking about yourself.
I'm not thinking about myself and trying to dodge work. When I was younger, I was on the council. I got the arse from being on the council. You got to be pretty bad.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And that was just, it was boring.
Yeah.
It was a boring job. you
Yeah.
know? I couldn't believe how boring it was, you know.
Mm.
And I wanted to do something and I was told to slow down or I have to go. And so I didn't show up, you know. So eventually, you know, you get the arse. So, you know, like if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, if it's helped in some way for you to identify or in some way help you to make that one change. It doesn't take much. It can change your whole life. One shift in thought, one shift in attitude.
Yeah, how you speak to yourself.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. It's, you know, it can make the world a difference. So, you know,
100%.
hopefully, you know, and, you know, it would mean the world to us if you got something out of today, if you shared it with just one person.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
That would be fantastic.
Definitely.
And look forward to seeing you on our next podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. It was great talking with Dad here, and we'll see you next time.
So this is All Out with Glad with Dad.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Cheers.
Peace.